absolutely love this record, man. I am so in love with Dinosaur, dude. Like, good God. And one thing that I loved is I actually caught the Rock Resurrection tour on the opening night in Gary, which was a blast of a show, man. Can you talk about just how much fun that tour was for you guys being out there with those two bands? Because, dude, there's a lot of history in just connections between the three bands that were on that tour, and it was fun for all of us. It had to have been fun for you guys too.
To be honest with you, that was probably one of the best tours we've ever been on in the history of all of our tours.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. When you said, let me be honest with you, I was starting to brace myself for a second. It was like, what went wrong? No. Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I say that because it's hard to believe sometimes that could be the truth, that it's actually one of the best we've ever done because we've been on tour for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So, to say that is a bold statement, but I'm not kidding. It really was.
That's awesome. What made it that way? I mean, I've seen Skillet millions of times, seen you guys a bunch of times. The guys in Saint Asonia are just awesome. I mean, was it just the camaraderie, the familiarity? I mean, what made that so good for you guys?
Yeah, it was actually a lot of things, to be honest. The most important things obviously is, do the bands get along, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with a co-headline tour,
mm-hmm.
right? So when you have a co-headline, if one band or both bands can, have maybe egos, or maybe they have, production that they don't want to move and they don't want to be willing to play ball, it gets really a big problem within the bands really fast, and it just the camaraderie goes out the window, and it just becomes kind of a hell.
Yeah.
Well, so the fact that Skillet as the band was literally one of the nicest bands we've ever worked with, was just, it was so effortless to, when we had a problem, then we just asked them, they're like, yeah, it's good. And then they had same thing, right? They asked us a problem. Yeah, no problem, do it. And it's done. And then, as far as like the ticket sales were outrageous, right?
Yeah.
So good. The venues were amazing.
Yeah.
So that just made the camaraderie better within all the bands. And then, then it breaks down to like the crews. Like their crews were like helping each other getting on and off stage, and like everybody was having such a great time. It was so pro. The food, catering every day. Yeah. It just like everything from the most important to the least important all lined up to like this really insane tour. Yeah.
Man, that is just so good to hear. Does it give a little bit of a different vibe and atmosphere and energy to you guys when you have a record release mid-tour like this one did? Because the tour just wrapped up not that long ago, and the record came out. Like, did it have a little bit of a different feel when that kind of happens? That's fun for everybody too.
It is. It was good and bad, because originally it was supposed to be released that tour.
Oh, okay.
And there was a setback with some things, so they had to push it back a month. Unfortunately, that's what caused that to be released while we were on tour.
Gotcha.
We were hoping that it was going to be people are going to know the songs a bit better before we. But nonetheless, luckily for us, the label did release those grad tracks. So we had Dinosaur out. Then we had the Ambulance out, and two of us came out.
Yeah.
Right on release day. So we had an opportunity to at least have those two songs that we could play live, and people were still starting to get familiar with anyway. Gotcha. So it worked out anyway. But then seeing the release while we're out and watching people's reactions was actually a lot of fun. Daily, wake up and you read everybody's posts, and we're all sitting in the bus having our coffee in the morning, talking about it, and everybody's got the smiles on their faces first thing in the morning because it's all positive stuff. So it was really good. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, in my review of the record, I actually said that this record is perfect in so many ways. To me, it's a perfect album. Because it kind of blends all of the different styles and eras of Theory of a Deadman into one. You guys kept the sounds and the styles and the vibes you guys went with on the last two records on a lot of the songs, but you brought back a lot of this stuff that really put you guys on the map too. And the last time we talked, which was during COVID, you had said that it was a really conscious effort to switch things up the last two records. And then this time you got kind of brought back some of the stuff that people fell in love with originally. And it's balanced so well. It's almost, I feel like, two different albums in one. You know, all of those heavier songs are at the beginning, and then you slowly start to sprinkle in the softer, a little bit more alternative styles. I mean, was that a conscious effort this time around as well to bring that stuff back, but also balance it with what you guys have been doing and keep that going?
100% it was, yes. It was all done on purpose. We branching off the last two records was something that we really wanted to do, because as you grow as a human being or as an artist, you see that you have other abilities and you want to work on them, right? And that's what makes you grow, right? That's what makes you move forward in life. So if you stay all the time, people kind of get tired of that, and so do you. So we wanted to branch out. We loved what we did, and arguably we got one of the biggest hits of our career on a branch out that everybody kind of was curious about, wasn't sure if it was going to work, and it ended up we had RX Medicaid, which is like I said, arguably our biggest hit of our career. So we took the risk on our own. We knew that there was going to be some people that were upset, but there was some greatness that came from it. And now, if you look at it, we were able to come back to our roots, and it was time. It was really time to bring back what we've always done, and we it wasn't just yes, it was for our fans, but it's also for us too, right? Because if you feel good making it, then it's just going to come out better, and everybody that's listening to it's going to enjoy it more, because it's better quality. So when it's forced, it's no good, right? So I feel like we accomplished a lot of greatness on this record, and to hear your response is exactly what we were kind of hoping for, right? That's what we were hoping for. So it's great to hear that from you.
I remember listening to it the first few times and just smiling the entire time, especially on like Sick. I'm like, that song reminds me of The Truth Is song. Just, it has that vibe, and then listening to Stuck, I'm like, this is so, it's genius. It's so fucking good, But I also feel like you said, you needed to go out of the box, because I almost feel like as far as fans were almost starting to kind of pigeonhole you guys into a specific style and what they expected. And I feel like it was starting to get a little stale, and it was really cool to see you switch that back up. And it also really showcased your musicianship as well. And you weren't a one element style band. You can do all of this stuff. And that's what the last two records did. And those are honestly two of my favorite Theory records, to be honest.
Wow, that's amazing.
Especially the last one. But the last, Say Nothing, man, that came out literally 2 months before COVID and lockdown did. But it also released only 3 years ago as well. So do you think releasing it when you did kind of work to an advantage of it hasn't been as long in between records for you guys as it had been for a lot of other bands that are releasing records this year? Some of them is 4 or 5 years, Yeah,
well, I mean, we had a whole plan for Say Nothing, and COVID, the shutdown really kind of put a kibosh on it, to be honest.
There wasn't a tour cycle for that record for the most part.
He couldn't do anything. On top of that, if you listen to the lyrics, basically through the whole record, I mean, it's almost like Tyler's lyrics they almost kind of forced
prophetic almost.
It was, I was like, wow, this is a little strange. So it had its place, but it didn't work out for us the way we had planned. Put it that way.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, and then it took us a while to make a new one, because we had to go overseas, and we spent 3 weeks in Sweden and 2.5 in London, and by the time everything gets mixed and mastered and approved by the label, all this, it takes a while. So there's goods and bads, but you just roll with it. And I think that we ultimately were just extremely happy that we were able to get this record out when we did.
Yeah.
And now we're in the beginning of a tour cycle with this record just released. I think we're in good shape.
I think so too. And yeah, it's it released at a really good time this time, even though it wasn't really the original plan. But yeah, I mean, it worked out well. But was it weird? 'Cause it felt like when at the time you guys would have sat down and start making the record, did it feel like you were kind of just getting underway with the Say Nothing tour cycle, even though it had been out for so long? Like this is like,
you know, so.
Yeah.
You think so? But we just, what we did is there was, once everything started to open back up, that was our opportunity to basically finish all that kind of touring that we had planned.
Gotcha.
And because there was tours that, were all just postponed and postponed and postponed. So we had an opportunity, and we did get that chance to go and finish up those postponed tours. They weren't obviously all the tours we wanted to do, obviously, but there was some. So at least we got some under our belt, and we got to play some of those songs that people were, wanting to hear. Obviously, as soon as we got out, a bunch of us got COVID stuff, so it wasn't great. There was a lot, and then we had, of course, those shows that we had to postpone, and then we had to make up for those. So it was kind of a messy, chaotic way of finishing up that cycle, but we did get some of it done. So at least there was that,
One question I've wanted to ask you for years that I thought of after our last interview is, along the way, going into the RX record, you guys kind of changed the moniker of the band to just Theory. You guys still are Theory of a Deadman, but is also just Theory on a lot of stuff. What made you guys decide to do that?
So what happened was when we decided to make Wake Up Call.
Yes.
We had, the mindset of, this is going to be a little bit lighter of a record. It's going to be a different direction. And so with that in mind, Of a Deadman sometimes can confuse people as to what we actually sound like if they've never heard us before. And so we took that into consideration, as, a lot of our fans just call us Theory anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So we just thought, let's just rebrand while we rebrand the music. Let's rebrand the name, and maybe that might allow people that have never heard us to maybe give us a shot, as to the fact that we aren't a death metal band or some sort of, any kind of metal band for any means, because Deadman does confuse or scare people or deter people from wanting to listen to us. So that was the mindset behind it. Now that we're back, making what we've always done in the past, and we feel like Of a Deadman, just, we don't really care, and we love the name, and that's what everybody knows us as. So I think it's just more fun to say the full name, and if people want to call us Theory, go for it. We are absolutely okay with it. If you want to call us Theory of a Deadman, do that too. And that brings, now everybody has the opportunity, right? Everybody knows us as Theory or Of a Deadman.
Right.
And I think, it's okay for us to put that back on the banner, put that back on the posters, put that back on the backdrop and all that stuff. Yeah.
I was torn on asking that question because I just did a podcast yesterday about interviews, and they're like, what are some questions you avoid? I'm like, don't ask the name of the band, but I'm like, but I need to know what made them do that with the name this time. Like, I'm
it's okay.
Curious.
It's totally okay.
Curious,
that's a good question. It's a fair question, man.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you ask that? We did it. So if we can't back it up and answer that question, then what are we doing?
Well, it's almost like two different bands. If you release stuff like Wake Up Call and Say Nothing, it could be under the Theory moniker, and with records like Dinosaur and Scars, it's Theory of a Deadman. Like, it's almost like it's like an alter ego almost to a degree,
and it's not like anybody's never done that before, right?
No.
It's not completely new.
No.
So
Prince did it. If Prince did it, it's good enough for anybody.
Right.
I mean, if Prince can do it, get away with it, Anybody can, And I think it was
some have tried it in the past and some not failed. Right? Like Garth Brooks did the Chris Gaines thing, probably not so good. But anyways, the point is that it's happened, right? So we're not breaking them, we're not breaking anything new here. It's just it was something that we wanted to try, and then we feel okay with it. It's fine.
Man, to wrap
anybody.
To wrap it up, man. Summer tour, man, it's coming, and it's going to be a good one. You guys are going out with Disturbed and Breaking Ben this summer.
So we got to clear that up. So we're not.
What?
So if you look at, I hate when this happens.
Oh man.
Because it confuses people. So what we're doing, we are going out with Disturbed, but only in Canada.
Oh.
Okay, so if you look at the posters, it has like, you know, it has Disturbed, Breaking Band, Theory of a Deadman, Ginger, I think, is on there somewhere. I think there's other bands, right? There's all these different bands.
Oh, it's one of those two.
The very bottom, it'll have those denote kind of like
the carrots, the asterisks. And
and it says which tour each band is going to be on. If you look, we're on none of the U.S. stuff. We're only doing Canada because we were going to go to Canada on our own. Disturbed was going to Canada at the same time. They reached out to us and said, why don't we just go together? Makes more sense. We're like, yeah, it makes more sense. But they already had all the American stuff booked, and we're going to just do a little bit of like fly festival, state fair stuff over the summer because we have another, it's not released yet and it hasn't come out yet, but I think there's the opportunity that in the fall we're doing another Rock Resurrection with Skillet and St. Asonia again.
Cool.
Yeah, just all the markets that we didn't hit on this one. So unfortunately, I hate saying this, but we're not on that Disturbed US run with Breaking Band. Yeah.
Those tour packages are so popular right now where it's like a band brings like 4 support acts and like different markets, and it confuses everybody, you know, because
it does. I hate when they do it.
Yeah.
I hate it because now everybody's thinking we've had it. People went online. Can't we just see you guys with Breaking Band and Disturbed this summer? I'm like, you're not going to. What?
Oh man.
And it actually upsets people.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them because then they expect that they show up thinking that we're going to be there and we're not. And what happened? What you're on? I know. Well, you didn't read it, and then it sucks because people maybe don't go into that much detail. They just see the big names and go, okay, I'm buying tickets.
Well, I'm glad you were able to clear that up, and we're going to get that out there for everybody because people need to know. Because honestly, like, your Theory is the band I was the most excited about on that bill because I love the record so fucking much. So I'm like, I'm going to see more songs live. But you know what? Like, if you're coming to like Indy on a fall tour or something like that, I'll see the songs live. It's going to happen. I'll just wait a little bit longer and. You know, I'll be patient. It's okay. We're gonna get there. It'll happen.
Well, just know that we would have loved to have been on that U.S. run with Disturbed and Ben and because I mean pre-COVID, right before the shutdown, we had that tour with Breaking Ben and
Bush. Was it Bush?
And Bush, yeah. So like that was going to be a wicked amphitheater tour. We were looking forward to it. The whole shutdown happened. That got canceled, and it just never got rebooked. So. And now I think like Alice in Chains is like taking the place and like all these other bands. So it just never worked. It just never worked out that we got that opportunity again. And it's a bummer because we wanted to do it and we love Breaking Band. We love Disturbed. Mm-hmm. We love Alice in Chains. We've done many tours in the past with those guys. So, it's a bummer for you and for us. Trust me.
Well, we're gonna work on getting people who make the graphics for these posters to make things more clear in between two of them.
Yes, please.
It's gonna happen. Please, graphic designers, do better. Please
do better. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
man.
I agree. I'm with you,
man.